This is a probable cause affidavit, and they don't have to lay out their whole case here. They just have to make up probable cause.
They went through a very lengthy analysis of the cell phone. What people have to understand is the cell phone is not like GPS.
That the scientist and the science behind this, when they do match his DNA with the DNA that was found at the crime scene, I think that will be an extremely important step. 51% there was a crime.
This is Reporter Room with Jessica Della Davies.
Hello, Reporter Room investigators. More stuff, and I think it's going to be like this with this new judge. This judge in Ada County is releasing a lot more information, and plus we had the 13 motions that were filed by Ann Taylor and the defense team. Do you like this new judge better? Because I think we're getting a lot more information. In the last live stream that I did with you guys, I was able to share a whole bunch of information that was unredacted. For those of you that don't know, my name is Jessica Della Davies. I'm an investigative journalist. My job is to investigate crimes, crime scenes, and potential suspects and share with you how to do the same thing. If you haven't subscribed, please do like, share, leave a comment. Proof. I have more proof that BK did have connections to the victims. So let's talk now about the fact that Bryan Kohberger was following victims. And for those of you that are going to come into the comment section, no, he wasn't. He wasn't stalking the victims, because again, the statute on stalking is so narrow in Idaho. The victims would have to have known, they have to feel harassed or threatened for it to constitute as stalking. But he was surveilling them. So let's talk about this now. I'm going to talk about the new picture of Bryan Kohberger that the prosecution is planning to present. Will this prejudice the jury? In just a moment, so please stay with me. Okay. Let me grab this. We're going to talk about Spotify too in just a second, so please stay with me, but I want to go into this too. All right, make sure you guys can see this. Make sure I'm not in the way. Let me move myself kind of over here. Okay, so this was done, and I'm going to show you guys the work that he did, but this was done by a company called Shadow Dragons. It was done by Daniel Clemens. And what they did was they were linking Bryan Kohberger's main account to some other accounts that he had. He had two other ones, Bryan Kohberger with an extra R, and then Brian Slight, and then Brian. And then they also linked it to Maddie and to Kaylee. So let me show you guys that next. Okay. So this is the search that they did. And again, this is, hold on. This is the company. It's called Shadow Dragon, and it's owned by Daniel Clemens. And Daniel Clemens is the one that did the news and commentary on this. So let's go ahead and show you this. Okay. Just want to show you. I do want to be. All right. So a little bit careful with this. Okay. So this is everybody. This is Garrett Discovery did this research. This is everybody that Bryan Kohberger was following. So I'll just show you guys. Going down to page 12. You can see right here, Kaylee Jade. Okay, that's Kaylee's account. And you can see right here, Madison May Mogan. And this was social mapping done by Garrett Discovery. And I do think that this is really interesting. So let's talk about this for a second. So the connections between Bryan Kohberger and the four victims did seem hard to put all the connections together. And I have told you guys that, Dateline NBC has reported out that he was following two of the victims. The Goncalveses also reported it, but Shadow Dragon Social Net also looked for any correlation between the perpetrator and the victims. And they found out that Bryan Kohberger followed two of the four victims on social media. Did he have a second Pennsylvania cell phone that he was using when he was living in Pullman, Washington? Now, was this number different from I'm just going to tell you the last four digits, 8458, that was shown in the affidavit? The WSU page, before they took it down, I'm not going to show you that because it has another phone number on it. But before they took down the WSU thing, that one had a 5889 number listed. So the number in the affidavit for Bryan Kohberger is 8458, and the number listed on his WSU page for his teaching assistant, that number was a 5889 number. So that's a Pennsylvania number from AT&T. Now we know law enforcement has multiple warrants for AT&T, and the analysis used by the software and BK's email addresses and phone numbers were used to identify social media accounts associated with those phone numbers. So this research was done by Daniel Clements. He's a CEO of Shadow Dragon, who makes open source intelligent tools. Now, the Shadow Dragon social net software focuses on identifying aliases and non-obvious connections to targets to help law enforcement find the target's social media accounts that may have had no obvious links to them. So this is not fake Instagram accounts following the victims. They, just wanted to be clear about their research. These are accounts linked to Bryan Kohberger either by email or by phone information. And the analysis appears to be pretty sophisticated, looking at the Instagram accounts named Bryan Kohberger. And then they looked at fake accounts that had been created. So they weeded those out. They went through Twitter, Cash Apps, and various other apps like AllTrails, Snapchat, Twilio, and appeared to have confirmed linkage to BK's email accounts and phone numbers by co-linking various app accounts to each of the common links to BK is further solidified. And I believe this is what law enforcement is also doing. Remember, they have warrants out for Snapchat, Facebook, Strava is also listed. So multiple warrants out. And I believe that, and Instagram, which I think is Meta, which is going to be Facebook and Instagram. So I do believe that what they're going to do is show links between Bryan Kohberger. They're going to show you this in the trial. So the phone numbers that we knew about the one that was detailed in the PCA, but there's this 5889 number that was listed as his WSU staff listing. I have seen it. I do have confirmation, but it does have a phone number. I don't know who it belongs to now, so I don't want to put it on the air. But this phone appears to predate the 8548 AT&T number that was active from June of 2022. And then they were able to track down some of his alienaces. Brian Slight are associated with BK's email and phone numbers on some of the apps that he was using. And I believe this is why law enforcement also is getting warrants for some of these apps. The connections mapped out are not as simple or obvious as the Instagram account just named Bryan Kohberger following a victim, but rather these are accounts that are literally connected to his emails and known phone numbers. So Shadow Dragon described the social media linkage to BK and the victims as hard to find without specialist software. So let's just look at what they did find. And that is clearly links to Maddie and Kaylee. So there's Maddie. And Kaylee's right here. And these are all the people that he was following. So I do think that this, helps. So some people said they don't believe the mainstream media. Okay. So, let's not use the mainstream media. So here is a selfie of Bryan Kohberger offering a thumbs up to the camera. It appears to be taken in a bathroom with a shower as the backdrop. He's wearing earphones and a colored long sleeve shirt buttoned to the top. And prosecution is expecting to show jurors this photograph, and they are going to argue that one of the surviving roommates recalls seeing a person with bushy eyebrows inside the 1122 King Road house on November 13th of 2022. This is according to Brian Enton on NewsNation. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments section below. So thank you so much for joining me. I can't make it to 40,000 subscribers without your help, so please consider subscribing, and I will see you next time. Bye.